Good morning. Warm welcome to another webinar of FECC Annual Digital Days series. We are glad to introduce you to our webinar in collaboration with Loady, the member of FECC and successful startup. The topic of today's webinar is Intelligent Master Data Platform for Logistics. My name is Diana and I will represent FECC today. Before we start, let me make a little introduction of FECC. As you may already know, FECC is the European Association of Chemical Distributors, and we represent 1,600 companies via national associations and our members, which cover the whole value chain. We are the only European association representing all chemical segments under one umbrella, all company sizes from startups to multinationals, all chemical supply chain functions. And also, as you can see, companies that provide digital services and solutions. We are lobbying for interests of our member companies, especially for SMEs, since our members are mostly family-owned businesses. Distributors are in the midst of value chain since the services they provide vary greatly. This sector stands for more than 30,000 highly qualified jobs directly and indirectly. If you wish to learn more about everything what's going on in chemical value chain and FECC, we warmly invite you to our annual Congress, which will be held in Sitges, Barcelona from 11th till 13th of September. It is accessible for everyone, members and non-members. You're welcome to attend and registrations will be open soon. And of course, the housekeeping, competition compliance. I think you're already familiar with all of them, but just to remind, we won't talk about specific cases, prices, or anything that could be considered or related to an infringement of European antitrust law. Another housekeeping remark is Q&A session, unique opportunity to ask questions to our very respected speaker, and you can submit your questions in the box in the top right corner of your screen. Please submit your questions as fast as possible, so we will have enough time to ask all of them after the very targeted presentation. Our speaker today is Stephanie Krause, CEO of Loady, and Stephanie co-founded Loady and BASF Logistics Platform. She joined BASF in 2018, advancing digital initiatives. With diverse educational background, she is skilled in software introductions and market entities, experienced in managing teams and change. She values customer needs and professional growth. So please warm welcome to our respected speaker. Stephanie, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody, and hello, Diana. Thank you for the warm introduction and welcome. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to presenting Loady today. Maybe just a short view on Loady itself first. We have about an hour, I think. I'm not sure if I will really talk about now, so I'm looking also forward to any questions you might have. And just regarding the how we are doing it, it's Diana who's managing my presentation, so please, I beg your pardon in case there are some smaller, interferences. So let's get started. Well, what is Loady about? And what will we talk about today? The question is really like, I would love to show you how chemical distributors can benefit from an intelligent master data platform for digital logistics, because that's exactly what Loady is about. And maybe just click one further, Diana. You already introduced me, but just for one statement, I just wanted to add one comment. As you have seen, Diana already mentioned it, I'm very used to startup environment and to the introduction of new projects and solutions in the market. And you see below that the last experience I had in work was building digital business models for BASF. So what I present you today is really a solution built from the industry, coming from the industry. And we had an enormous team in validation and experts from internal and external BASF world, but we never built Loady within BASF. So it's a complete neutral platform. And it was from the very first beginning thought as a kind of partner data exchange thing. And I will explain you, and maybe you will see why. So this is really like, well, BASF, let's say, was our first customer and is still growing with Loady. So I will tell you more about it in a second. Okay, now let's go. Talking about what we are going to talk about, or what I will talk about today. Well, first of all, for sure, I would like to illustrate the problem that we want to solve with Loady, talking about how loading and unloading requirements are managed today in chemical logistics. Then I would like to share some ideas on the impact that the SE situation has on the business, and where the benefit case is in what areas, and how we usually help to discover the benefit case, to calculate it. Then for sure I will explain what this standardized platform Loady is about, how the structure is, what about what does it mean if the data is shared at first hand, so what is this? We have also several use cases, and our use cases usually are not like one specific topic in logistics. It's really about sharing this data wherever it is needed, meaning from freight procurement, transport management, truck execution. You see them all, and there are even some more like quality management that I've not even mentioned, because there are really many processes and users needing this information that we have in Loady. Then for sure you will say, okay, it's a startup, so you maybe want to know where we are today and what data is already available. I would love to show you a live demo on the platform. So I will really enter in Loady, and please collect and send all your questions so I can answer them afterwards. Okay, so currently, or let's say not currently, this is really a fact. I mean, if we think about processes and many people involved in processes needing reliable information, so the first thing that any kind of process can work properly means that information that is exchanged or that is used needs to be clear, it needs to be up to date, it needs to be in a structured and digitally available format. And let's say like this is any kind of fundamental for any kind of digital collaboration. And what you see here is only the use cases of a company, meaning of a shipper. There are some more exclamations that have no concrete profile aligned, which is like the drivers, it's like the carriers, and it's like, you know, all the other parties involved in the same process. Okay, next, please. Talking about reliable, clear data, this is how data has been managed since 1999. Let's say it like this, because if you go one further, Diana, please. This is one back again. It's really how it is managed today still. It's the same. It's exactly the same way. So it, yeah, okay, it says 2024 up there. If you just go one further, please. Thank you. So it's still the same. It is handled in free text formats, and you have a lot of information. You see them at the left hand regarding customer and product specific logistics requirements like opening hours, loading hours, access restrictions, site procedures. what kind of tools or slots do I need to know, or do I need to use? How to book slots? What technical equipment do I need? And what about my personal equipment? What documents? So it's a long, long list of information, and it's handled in, well, free texts. It stays there since years, and then it's somehow updated. And finally, what is really the current state of the art, there is no standard for logistics requirements, or let's say there has not been any standard so far. There has not been any common structure, and for sure there was no kind of truth, because, and that's really crazy, everybody keeps the relevant information of everybody else in individual free text fields. Meaning that if you have several customers that deliver goods to you, they will all have kind of files on how to handle the information, of how to handle the delivery at your site. And if you have several carriers involved, so the logistic service providers, they also have their own fields in a more or less structured way. But one thing I can tell you for sure, never ever there will be the same information at each of these information users. Okay, please. The consequence of this bad or poor data means that really it's the chemical industry and the chemical distribution paying the price, because finally there are so many people and roles involved that it means if you have any change in the data, it takes 1 to 3 months to communicate the change. If you want to prepare freight tenders and really do like complex tenders for the whole European region or the DACH region or others, it can take 1 to 9 months, and we even talk to companies where it takes over 12, so nearly 1 year to be able to launch a tender, which is completely crazy. In general, it's like about 5% of all deliveries have incidents, meaning that something already went wrong when the truck arrived. Something was not clear. There is a document missing. The cleaning certificate was not up to date. Maybe the wrong pre-product has been loaded before, if it's a bulk delivery. Then you have sometimes the wrong shoes, the wrong glasses, the wrong process. So there are incidents leading to delays. And for sure, this always means customer complaints, lost loading slots, troubleshooting, and penalties. And the consequences in terms of, what is the company suffering with it, or the partners, because there are many partners involved. It's not only the shipper, it's the goods receiver, it's the carrier, it's the driver, and many of these people. So finally, you have lots of unnecessary efforts and cost at all places. There are extra kilometers and extra carbon emissions that could be avoided easily. The planning reliability is much lower than it could be. And what we really found is there are many people unhappy with this situation and even frustrated and thinking about things like driver shortage or how difficult it is to get really good personnel. You know, that these things should just be like not a pain in 2024 anymore. Okay, so next one, please. So we have calculated, or we do calculations in the companies about the savings and the improving potentials they have. And there are 4 big areas where any company, and especially if it's chemical distribution, really can get savings from. First of all is for sure, if there are less truck rejections, it means that I'm much more efficient at my gate process. I have less loading slots that I'm losing. I have less troubleshootings and less shooting hours, so less people involved, and everything runs smoother. This is a very important point, and I also have less carbon emissions. And because each truck that is rejected usually has some kind of, let's say, extra kilometers, and we have challenged this with certain carriers. They, for example, confirmed that usually you can calculate about an average of 50 to 60 kilometers. And we said, why? Because if they need something, they just go, to the store or to the next partner they have. And they said, yeah, but sometimes when they need to come back or they need to do the whole journey again, or they need to, we need to send a different truck. And especially if you have delays by truck rejections, it means that our planning is not as good as it could be. And that means also that our other trucks, you know, we need to be like, yeah, we have also efforts and also kilometers around. So that's the first point. The second point for benefit is data management. So many people trying to keep this data up to date. And we understand that this is really a huge effort. You have a new customer, you need to enter this data. You have changes, you need to enter and communicate the data. And if you have a tender or a spot freight, you need to get the data in some kind of, you know, like technical specification, so that a carrier, logistics service provider is able to give you an offer based on your criteria and specification. The next one, customer satisfaction. Also important. I've talked to many companies, to many shippers, and they said, oh, it's, you know, it's we do this non-conformance management thing, but sometimes when we have a new carrier, we don't do it so much. We inform the customer, and then we know that for the next 3 months, there will be a kind of learning phase until everything works smooth again, which is crazy. You have 2 years of contract and it takes 2 or 3 months. If it's a new carrier who does not know the tour and the routes, the lanes, the transport lanes, you can't spend 2 or 3 months until everything works. And even the existing carriers tell us sometimes we have driver changes because the old driver, you know, you have some kind of, let's say, group of drivers that are now very close to being retired, and now the news coming up need to learn. So you have much more changes than before, and it's more difficult to find them. And the fourth point is really very important for process efficiencies, meaning if you have a faster time to market, if you can be and work closer, better together. So what else do you get in terms of not only reduce cost, but also have new opportunities? And all this together builds our benefits and the benefits for a company. And the calculations we did for mid and large production companies have already been directly in the 6 and 7 digit range, and sometimes in the very high 6 directly. Okay, let's go further. With Loady, we will change this situation completely because we now have no more need to troubleshooting or to request and to double check information, because the idea of Loady is that you have like one central neutral data source where each company enters what is needed to get delivered goods or to pick up produced goods at their sites, and then they share this information with their respective partners. And this is the carriers for sure, but it's also, let's say, the subcontractors that are behind the carriers. It's the chemical park. It's the tank warehouse, the warehouse. So this is just a simplified situation of the users of the information. And the important thing is, when I said neutral before, I really mean neutral. It's like Loady does not own this data. The data is of the companies who manage it in Loady. So we just try to build this platform the way that it fits to the really use cases and the way that you easily can share and integrate the data with the systems you needed. And I will talk now about what does this mean. Maybe you could go on further, please. First of all, what is the information about that we are storing, or that you are maybe storing in Loady? So the idea is that you need 3 kinds of data sets. One is unloading requirements at the place of the customer, but the unloading requirements, especially in chemistry, are often directly related to specific products. So it starts like, you know, the supplier shares the product data with the customer can tell back, this is the unloading requirement for the product that you are sending me, the supplier maintains the loading requirements, and then the carrier and the driver get the entire data set for exactly this specific transport relation. And that means shipping whatever kind of product from A to B, what does it need? And we are talking about a supply chain, so it means that you have, you know, this in many places of the chain, the same situation. So usually you get products, but you receive products, but you also send out products. So the thing that you maintain, as I mentioned before, is like anything related to your site, product, and loading point. Some use cases. They also show directly at the right hand always a bit how the product works before I show it to you in live, but then I hope you better see and get what I try to explain you when I show it to you later. So the first thing, if you see at the right hand, there are these assigned lanes. Each of these lanes has like one of these data sets, and that's like the core of Loady, meaning in a lane you have the relationship between a loading point, a product, and an unloading point. And thinking about the process, for sure, it starts with freight procurement, because first of all, you need to, well, purchase the service that you need. And the first thing that the freight procurement guys told us was, okay, now I need to have qualified, structured information for the tender. So we said, the first thing you will be able to do in Loady is to take these lanes, these product relations, and combine, cluster them in tenders, and then you can just use this tender. You just get the tender specifications in a few clicks, and you can give access to all your carriers who are to give you an offer, whom you want to invite to your tender. It sounds very simple, and it really is. In the management, we have now the second tender in Europe. The first customer did the second tender in Europe with Loady, and there are more than 90 bulk carriers already onboarded, and you know, they get their tender specifications, the typical thing about the economic and whatever NDAs and time of the tender. They get everything via the e-procurement platform, but the technical specifications come from Loady. They can download them or they can access directly in Loady. And the good thing is, in the future, thinking about change tracking, you know, in 2 or 3 years, maybe the same tender is supposed to be opened again. You just can take the old one, add some new lanes, and you even see the changes that have happened during this time, so that it will be much easier to manage the tender. Okay. Second use case, that was for freight procurement. Second use case, transport management and planning. If you want to improve truck execution, reliable planning, and get less troubleshooting, you need the same data and information everywhere where it's needed. And for sure, on the one hand, you want it integrated in your TMS. This also works for the carriers. And on the other hand, you want that the drivers you are talking to have the full information and that they understand what it is about, because, you know, if current data is not managed well, one thing is that people just don't understand what it says because it's not available in the question, and it's not available because of the format. So we said, why not get data in a structured format in the freight order, but also add some links or QR codes that work for the drivers. And, you know, like the typical people that you don't want to onboard on any further tools, and they are really like rid of any apps because they need to manage so many. And you just give them with this access to this special data set, and they can access the information in their language, meaning that we currently have German, English, Polish, Spanish, Italian. We already have, but not launched, Romanian, and now it's Russian and French coming, and others more to join soon. So they have their own interface, and they just click through it if they have further question. Next one, please. That's a very important point, thinking about huge industrial places. If we think about the typical gate You have usually a check there. You have the first possibility for a truck to be rejected to, and the checklists that you can send in advance to a carrier or a driver to prepare well, or even to confirm, look, I really have read it and it's everything there. You need a solid base to get these checklists out, and Loady is like, you know, a perfect base to directly integrate with the yard system and build these checklists together. And we have added one very important thing where we also are building right now the proper check, which is the previous load restrictions. I'm not sure if this is a topic for you, but we have found like lots of different things. One was paper on the wall, another one was the team at the loading point said to us, oh yeah, we know exactly what it is, we know it by heart. And you say, okay, but you're no chemists, yeah? How can you know? And another thing is that we found, for example, Excel files with 3,000 entries and products that were not allowed, and then some specific specifications in text form for this concrete customer. And for sure, this is not practicable. Yeah, nobody can check against this. So, so what we are building is like a method where you can say this product needs X. 1, 3, or 5 products to be tracked before, you know, the pre-products, and then it checks against a central database where companies manage their individual restrictions, the customer's restriction, the product restrictions, and just get back, this is okay, this is not okay, or this needs special cleaning. For sure, just one thing, this is not only for chemistry, it's for especially for any kind of bulk delivery, also applies to food and feed and other things. Okay, next one, please. You see there are lots of cases. If we think about the customer service, our face to the customer, they currently have this not so nice, yeah, that's task to be like in the center of the troubleshooting on the one hand, and on the other hand to maintain data updated in this free texts, which will not be like this anymore, because with Loady, the idea is that the customer themselves maintain their data. For sure, this means like a first higher effort, and that's why the first customer, and we thought, oh, it shouldn't be an effort for a customer of our customer. So what in practice, what we have built is the possibility to upload like business partners for the companies, to have the customer service get a first valid data set, and then you see at the right hand to verify the requirements directly with the customers. And this is done via workflow and has been very, very well received by the customer. You can imagine it like this: if you send butyl acetate, or if you receive butyl acetate, for example, from, let's name it, from BASF, you may get an email like this saying, please, dear chemical distributor, can you verify that when I send butyl acetate to your place, that these are the conditions that apply regarding opening hours, loading hours, whatever kind of things that need to be taken in account. For sure, it can be directly integrated with CRM, ERP, and e-commerce, meaning that if you have like a customer account, well, you could integrate directly that this information is shared, and that you don't even need to have everything build on your own first. Okay, next one. Site logistics. This is for the people really at the production sites or at the loading points or unloading points. They also want their processes to understood. It's often a bottleneck on the industrial sites, thinking about the 4, 5, sometimes 6 people working in a shift, waiting for the truck. So if loading slots are not maintained, it's always a disaster, and it means losing money and not using well the resources. So the first thing that we said, okay, any kind of information can be shared, but the second thing, and that's what we are working on for Q4 this year, is the possibility via this app that you saw before. It's not really an app, it's accessible via the link to also get information back from the drivers. Some kind of confirmation like, you know, I will be there about 12. There are many ETA, estimated time of arrival applications right now on the market, but most of them try to read with artificial intelligence lots of data. And what we talk to many of them, and they explained us, yeah, we get an accuracy of about 93, 95, 94%, whatever, but there is still some risk, and the risk is the guy who sits, usually it's a guy who sits in the truck, the driver, because it's this person knowing if they still need to, I don't know, make a stop at the toilet or get some extra equipment at some other point. So we said, why not connect them directly? And what you see here is like the future of industrial logistics, because this is like enabling processes as we know them currently from Amazon or from UPS or others, where they really tell you the product will arrive at that time, the delivery has been delivered. So it's just like a kind of shortcut in the connection. Okay, next one, please. And it's the last one. And then I will jump soon into the product. This is for supply chain management, thinking about the people who really are responsible for the entire process of the material flow. And they have, with Loady, lots of benefits in terms of all individual steps where reliable information is needed, and you see it's needed at many steps, is covered by reliable data. And that means that for sure the processes will work much smoother together. Planning reliability will raise, process efficiency increases, and it means cost savings. And especially, I can only say what I got out of the communication. It's cost savings, and it's reducing stupid tasks of people who are prepared for much more things, because usually this troubleshooting is no fun at all, and it only shows how inefficient things work today. Okay, so can we go one further, please? Where are we today? There are about 12 companies currently. Companies does not mean entities. It's like also regional companies using Loady so far. We have the first over 30 industrial sites onboarded. More than 815 products are managed in Loady. More than 5,000 business partners have been uploaded by these 12 companies, where they already manage end-to-end relationships without like having a public entity. So for example, if you are a chemical distributor and you see here it's BASF talking and get this verification workflow from BASF, you will only be like business partner in the BASF space. But if you say, I will take over now, then you would be also a company. It's just that we count differently. And as I said, freight forwarders are there too. In this month, we just had the go live of the freight order API. It means that in the freight orders, this link and the structured information will be from now on. The second front tender took place, and it's the 5th business unit that starts its onboarding of products, users, and loading points. And now, okay, maybe you could go one further. I would say I will switch and try if I can show you something from Loady directly. Okay, so I will show you my screen now. And we'll put this a little bit beside, sorry. Okay, so now you should see Loady. I've already signed in. You see, there are several companies. I will just open a chemical company to illustrate a little bit what this is about and how this data model works. And I'm sorry that I can't show everything. We have just launched also this really connection feature, but I will explain it to you what this means afterward. So Loady has it's built on a very simple principle. You know, as a company, usually you have different sites. They can be bigger, they can be smaller, they can be like external warehouses. And in this case, what you see is that these are some dummy sites. And now we could go into the dummy site and see what kind of infrastructure do we have there and what processes apply. So this Chemco Ludwigshafen in that case is a company that has certain restrictions to access the site as everything. It has opening hours, applications in use, facilities that you can find there. So the information that is in Loady has two purposes. One is the kind of information that's relevant for the contract, like technical equipment and things like that. But what we have here is especially important for the driver and for the dispatcher, for the planner on behalf of the carrier, because they need to know what rules apply, what do they find close. You see, it's just like information here, and this, what you see, is no free text. What you see here is there are modules, and this is all like things you can select and where you can enter. You see here the geo information you get. We also think about really helping to route on a site. So it means that you can include in Loady the ways how to move, how to behave on your site, or even how to get to your site, which route to take, because it's not the same here if you have a 40-ton truck behind than if you go with the smaller one, and there are also dangerous goods in place. So this is important. 1 second. I will just go back here. And yeah, so you see the check-in. I will go out of the edition mode. Now you see the check-in offices that you have for the different kinds of products, information on gates, information on safety and security, on infrastructural elements like weighing bridge, etc. So if this is for the site, you see the same for the loading and unloading points that are on the site. So if you need to pick up good, this is the information that you will have if it's a packed good or if it's a bulk good. If it's a packed good, for example, you have the same thing. Which truck is allowed? Do I need something specific like load from left, load from right, top, whatever? Do I need to bring some specific things? What is allowed for me at the place as the driver? Do I need to leave? Do I need to stay? Do I need to book further slots? And what kind of safety and security applies at this specific loading point? And now the important thing, I will go, which shows it a little bit better. I will go to one of the bulk loading points. Now the products that the company produces are linked to this loading point. In this case, ChemQ 800. These are the products are loaded there. Can be loaded there, and if you see butyl acetate, I used it before as a demo. You see all the information for this product that is relevant here, and you see one thing that is critical, especially if you talk about dangerous goods. You can directly link and in the future even upload the safety data sheets to Loady, and this means that the driver will have it available wherever he is at that moment. It will always be in place when using at any point the information set. You see for this product, there are certain cleaning requirements that apply. So it's lots of information, and for sure you don't fill in this information more than once, and then you just maintain the updates, and usually you don't even manage it or update it manually. You just do an upload or do a direct integration via API with your master data, because most of this information is great in the general data of your company, but there are certain transport things that need to be added here. yeah, you know, if you need some kind of, I don't know, a forklift, or if you need a specific tank connection, flange hose, pump, compressor, if there are documents related, as I said. I mean, it's maybe a bit boring for you thinking about master data, but one thing is clear: if you see all this information and think how it is handled today, it's absolutely obvious that this now is something that can enable digitization and collaboration within the supply chain. And the other is just like always text and needs requests and clarifications and will never be up to date. Okay, I talked about the lanes before. The lanes is this thing. And this is where you have this relation between a product from some loading point to another one. You see here that the preload restrictions in that case can be seen directly, but for sure this view that I'm managing here will be only managed by the data managers, because this is like the company view on the information. When using it in the processes, this will look completely different, because then you have, and you don't do it like I do it now, it's automatized. And then you have this lane and just can use it and, for example, share it with a carrier. And as I said, usually this is automatically, so it's a bit slower when I'm doing it here. And this is okay. And this is the mobile version now. That's why it's a bit ugly in the normal screen, but I still have it in Spanish too. If it's a device, it reads the it reads your interface language. So now you have all the information that we had there in the C directly here. It's a direct access to the database, and for sure that means that you will find it much easier wherever you are. So this would be like the part for the driver. And then we have another view just to show it to you, which is especially for the carriers, for the dispatchers, for the planning, and also for the cleaning, which is this Loady to share. It has a bit more information, but not so much on-site information. So if I on this, I hope you can follow. You see, it's the same information, but in a different format. It's kind of summary for unloading point product, and especially what you see here is, in this case, there are no preload restrictions. Here we have them, the preload restrictions that have been formulated. And as I explained previously, imagine that you have 10 pages of preload restrictions here. You won't go through them one by one. Currently, you can check and see if it's allowed. You see there are some alcohols that are in general like allowed, but there are some customers that don't allow certain product or product groups before. And what we have behind here is that each product and its classification can be subject of being preload product for a pre-product for other products too. And you see that we have some kind of families chemical logic behind, let's say it like this, which make it much easier to manage it here. But for sure, in the future, you just do the check and you don't enter. If you want to know what is allowed or not, you don't enter here and check one by one, or even with the search, this is not manageable. So maybe just one more thing. I'm not sure if tender is a topic for some of you, but I want to show you, if you have read it before, you may say, oh, why is there public data in Loady? I don't understand this. Public data means that all entities that are in Loady, you know, like the users agreed that they want to be part of the general catalog of Loady, but you can't see anything of the internal data. So if I go to one of the sites and, for example, I say now, let's go to, this is a dummy site, to Borgalis in Frankfurt, then I would see this information, but I would not see the rest of anything related to, because I have no permission. But this what I have here is what the user said. That's what you also find like on a public website. And this information now, instead of getting it in your data, you could just be authorized to use the data from Bocalis, from their site, loading point and product if you are in a business relationship. And then you just don't copy anything on and try to maintain it. You get it originally with the valid information from your customer, from your supplier, or from both. I can show you one more thing if you are interested in, which could be, 1 second, I will just log in again and do a short tender demo, just to show you this is organized. Okay, I will stay in this dummy global paint. As I said, you have lanes, and these lanes that you have defined, which is like linking a product to a loading point and an unloading point of a customer, you now could say, okay, I get my lanes, I group them, and that was what we did before already. 1 second, I need to jump to Loady for tender. And now I could group these lanes. I showed them previously. Here are all of them. Yeah, it's the same view we had before. Now I could group them in a tender, and this tender has a duration while it is running. Then when the contract starts, when the contract ends, and if it's published. And now you could assign directly the carriers here. And if you have the carriers assigned, they have the possibility to deep dive into this, the lanes that are behind this, or to download the specifications. And what you see here is like all the fields that you also could integrate directly in your systems. But you can get them, so you can give the best price and really evaluate if you want to link it to your other data sets and have the always up-to-date view on it. So I would close the demo here and maybe continue in the PowerPoint 1 more second. I think it's just 1 more slide I have or 2. Yeah, I just added some typical, because people ask, oh, there's so much data, how much does it take, what effort it is. We have done the onboarding of only at BASF 4 or 5 onboarding units, operating divisions now, or strategic business units. And what I can confirm is, for sure, it always depends on the team, but usually you have like a few steps that are relevant. The first one is get your own data at a high quality. This takes little time. You have the user onboarding, your own site, sales, products, and your loading points. You get them in Loady, and usually, for sure, you don't start with the whole global galactic company. You start with the data set where you know, or with a product set, let's say like this, that makes sense, where you want to try it, where you have people who are willing to test, and where you can affirm that your benefit case is the right one. Then for sure, that's the next and a bit more intense thing. You need to get a high quality of your customers' data. I showed you these verification workflows. So if you run this part, you also have like an upload, you involve customer service, you put on all the information, you run the workflows, get the feedback back, and then the good thing is that you have the end-to-end data sets so that you can create your transport lanes. And with this, you already can work with Loady to go and Loady to share. You already can elaborate your first freight tenders, because for sure, if you don't have this, you can't do it. That's why it takes 2 to 6 weeks, meaning this part. And you can integrate already with freight orders afterwards, and with any kind of tool where we know, we have public APIs, the programming interfaces that you can dock on, you can link with directly with your systems or with the interfaces of your systems. So it's just to show you a bit how this approach usually is to make it a bit more tangible. I hope this is interesting for you. Yeah, and just a few words about us maybe. As I said, we have developed Loady as an intelligent, solid, and I would really say pragmatic solution from the heart of the industry, meaning that it is absolutely designed to solve existing problems, to make life easier in chemical logistics. And it's always important to know a startup also who is behind it. We are 3 co-founders, 2 of them, Ella and me, are coming from BASF. Ella with more than 20 years of experience in chemical logistics of, I think, all types and kinds. And Dennis, our CTO, responsible for anything related to architecture, cybersecurity, data security, and the development team. And for sure, we have a team behind. We are right now, together with the 4-5 externals, about 20 people. And we have a huge expert community where we are also happy to integrate new parties, because we get the input and the demands on features, but we also need them to do the best and close to the business case and their use case design, to the beta testing and the validation. And for sure afterwards to use it and come up with new ideas how to make it better. We are, I mentioned this, a spin-off of BASF, not exactly from BASF, but from Chemovator. Chemovator is the business incubator of BASF. We have closed now this month our seed financing round, which is also a very important step in the life of a startup, because it means that you can continue your way. And I cannot talk about the investor so far because we need to sign it first, but the good thing is really that we have closed it, that then our next steps in terms of financing and of, let's say, vision, strategy, etc., is our Series A end of next year with and go to the US afterwards, start in the US market, where we already have the first connections and also requests, because, you know, we work in global environment. So yeah, the interest is definitely there. Okay, I hope it was interesting. Last slide. If you want to avoid troubleshooting and truck rejections at your place, in general, speed up your freight tendering or just make your logistics processes more efficient, get in touch with me directly. And I'm also really happy to answer any kind of questions that you may have now.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. It was a very informative presentation, even for me as non-user and non-distributor. We don't have a lot of questions, and I'm not judging, because very great presentation and great overview of your demo also. So I will start with the submitted question. Is it necessary to manually upload MSDS to Loady every time there is a change?
No, currently we have a link to the STS, which means that MSDS, yeah, it's a safety data sheet. So so the safety data sheet, if you store it in a place, usually you store it in a place where it's publicly available, because you need to have it there, but then it's usually on your website and people need to search for it. So in this case, you just can add the link. If you do the link, like always, to the last version, you can link it directly. You can also start, and that some companies find it interesting, uploading later the whole safety data sheet to Loady, and you can automatize this part, so you always have like the latest one up there. Why can this be important? We think of, in the next step, not only upload the safety data sheet, but also upload components of it. So to make digitally available part of the safety data sheet for the process, because you have some kind of transport related stuff in there. And so it's like it could become part of the model too. So that's why we have this roadmap. But right now, to answer your question, it's just to link the place where you find it or the direct safety data sheet.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So we have a couple minutes, and I would like to ask if you have any success stories which you would like to share with us, which are actually showing how maybe easy is to use your data on, or so up to you, Stephanie.
Yeah, for sure. I do have. We have just published one, and we are publishing a second one soon. But you know, we spun off in October last year, so we are not so for such a long time on the market, and we are still very close to BASF. We have the first customers in the chemical distribution area at Fields 2. For example, Okemix. Okemix is a daughter of Okema, you may know. They have started, like in the name of Okema, the pilot of Loady, and they have now done the first tests with the drivers, and they said, wow, it's really good, very positive feedback. So it took them a few weeks just to onboard their first lots of products, and to do, you know, like this part. That's one, I think, success story where we see that this will really help. But for sure, many of them are coming out of BASF. So what we see, what is clear success story where we see the first absolutely measurable results, is in the freight tender process. So we have procurement guys, and they decided now this structure that you saw, where you can download information as a carrier if you are invited to a tender within BASF. Now they have the same structure, and it's not a secret that I'm telling, because we also did a public use case about it, or public success story. So the same structure is now mandatory for all freight tenders, if the products are on Loady or not, because it means that you really like maintain everything in a similar way and are able to share it. And the idea of only changing the time of a freight tender process, reducing it from, as I said, 6 or 9 or 4 months to maybe 1 or 2, depending on your research that you need to before for the invitations. This can mean that you like get the momentum on the transport market better, and this can directly transfer into savings of 5%, 3%, 7% of the transport cost. But it's just like one real small part of the entire benefit case. You know, that's what I try to explain with the many use cases. Once the data set is there, you just can use it where you need it. Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. Actually, you explained even more of my questions that I've prepared for you. So thank you very much for that. And on this note, I would like to thank all the attendees, and of course our special guest Stephanie from Loady. Thank you very much. It was very user-friendly information also, and it was perfect presentation of it. And I would like to note here that we will share the recording and the presentation with all the attendees further on. And we would like to also remind you that we have one more webinar today, and we are waiting for you to join us today. And thank you so much for attending, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Bye.